about intercepts? Heard it? Have any ideas? Yeah. Where the line crosses an axis. It's like interception, yes. You're this, so if I'm looking at an example, like here's an example for you, okay? Excuse me. So when we're looking at this, we have two intercepts. We have the x-intercept and the y-intercept, okay? So the x-intercept is where we put any line, doesn't matter, and where does it cross the x-axis, okay? So this guy right here, I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So this guy right here would be your x-intercept, the x-intercept, okay? It's crossing the x-axis. Now, what is that coordinate point right there? What's that coordinate point? 0, 4. Close. 4, 0. There you go. Okay? So 4, 0. Alright? Now, kind of a rule of thumb. If we think about any line, you don't need to draw all these lines down. I'm just going to draw a couple lines just to kind of show you some things. Okay? So if I start looking at all these lines, okay? So let's start with the orange one. Okay? About where's that point at? I know it's not perfect, but what about where's this point at? 2, 0. Okay? What about this guy right here? About where is this guy at? Does it look like?
-4, 0.
I think -3. -3, 0. What do you guys notice is the same about all three of these points? What's 0?
The y.
The y. Okay? So when we have an x-intercept, you have an x number. You have a number in the x position. It's an x-intercept. Y will always be 0. That's the rule you need to know. Okay? Because if I look here, no matter where I put a dot on this grid, it's always going to be whatever my x value is, and 0. Okay? So coming back up here, x-intercept, the x-coordinate, of a point where a graph crosses the x-axis. Okay? And then you might kind of want to put here off to the side, y will always be 0. Okay, that is a rule. That's going to happen every time, no matter what, for the x-intercept. Y is always going to be equal to 0. Okay? All right. So now y-intercept. What do you think I'm going to put in that first position now? What am I going to put right here? Y-coordinate, and then what's here? Y-axis. Okay? So it's going to be the y-coordinate. Crosses the y-axis. And if you just had to guess a rule for this guy, what do you think your rule might be? Very good, okay? So your rule here will be x equals 0. Okay, x equals 0. Okay, so I'm going to kind of erase some of my points down here. I'm going to keep the x-intercept in there, okay? So now if I'm looking at this guy right here, what's this coordinate point going to be? Okay, 0, 2, and it's called the y-intercept, okay? And we already talked about, if it's the y-intercept in this case, your number will always be in the y position, so that means x will always be 0. And that's going to be true for any point I pick along the way, right? So here it would be 0, 0, that's going to be not the best example, but here we'd have, 0, 4, right? So no matter what, our x's are always 0, okay? And then the y is just where does it cross the y-axis. Okay? All right. So anybody have any questions about what I've talked about so far? Okay. So then coming down here, we're going to do two things. Well, three, I guess, kind of. We're going to find the x and the y-intercept. So they're just going to give you an equation. We're going to find the x and the y-intercept. And then we're going to graph those 2 points and make a line. Okay? All right. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it. It's up to you on which way you like. Okay? So the first way, I'm going to write down x-intercept, and I'm going to kind of draw separation here because we're also going to do the y-intercept. Okay? So x-intercept, what do we know is the rule for x-intercept? We just put it above. What's the rule for x-intercept?
Y is always going to be 0.
Y, good. Okay, so y is always going to be equal to 0. So y equals 0. So what do you think I'm going to do then to figure out what my x value should be? Yeah, just plug it in. So I'm going to take this guy right and just plug it right in. So 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. Everybody okay with that so far? Okay, so now what's going to happen here? What happens with this guy? It just goes away. It's great. It goes away. So 3x equals 12. So then what's x going to equal? 4. 4. So your intercept is at 4. Okay, now please understand, if you want to write this as 4, 0, that's fine, but it's a coordinate point. Okay, so come down here, and on the x-axis, find 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put a dot. Okay, so there's our first dot. Okay, does anybody have a question about the first part of the problem? Okay, so then let's work the second part. What do you think is going to be true about the y-intercept? What are we going to do there?
Plug in 0 for x.
Good. So x will equal 0. All right? And so this time I'm going to go ahead and plug in 0 for x. Okay? So I have 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. Okay? Same thing happens here. 3 times 0 is just going to kind of fall off, goes to 0. We don't have to worry about it. So really we just have 4y equals 12. So what does y equal? Y equals 3. So you can put 3, or it's a coordinate point, right? You plugged in 0 and you got out 3, right? 0, 3. There's your coordinate point if you're not sure. It's right there for you, 0, 3. Okay? So now you're going to come down here. Where do you think we're putting 3 at?
On the y-axis.
On the y-axis, okay? So find the y-axis and find out where positive 3 is and put a point there. Okay, so intercepts, where it crosses the axis. These are 2 separate ideas, 2 separate points, okay? And then draw a line. Okay, this is just another way to graph. We could do this by making tables as well. It would work the same, it would be the exact same line if we made a table. This is just a different way to do it. I like this way a lot better when we've got it wrote like this. When it's wrote as 3x plus 4y equals 12, this way is much easier. The intercepts, I think, are easier to do than make the tables and solve for y. All right, I think it's a little quicker and easier to do. Okay? Now, don't have to write this down, but look up, pay attention. Okay? The second way you can choose to do this, it's called the cover-up method. Okay? So, I'm going to cover up one of the variables. Just cover it up. Okay? What do you have left here? 3x and a 12. So how are you going to get the x by itself? What would you do? Divide by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is? 4. What did we say our answer was here for the x-intercept?
That works for everyone.
Yeah. So when you cover up, whatever you see is what line it's going on. Does that make sense? So you have x here, so you're going to divide by 3 and get 4. Same thing. So I cover up. Okay, cover up. I have 4y equals 12, right? So y goes my y-intercept. Whatever variable I have is my intercept. Divide by 4, and that's where the 3 is coming from.
Where did you come on that?
Huh? Well, I mean, think about it. If we're going to plug in 0, what's going to happen here no matter what?
0.
It's just going to go away, right?
Yeah.
So since we're working with zeros, you can just cover it up and act like it's not there. Okay? All right, I want you to go ahead and try B on your own. Same exact process. Try B on your own.